Konami cancelled a game so hard you legally cannot install it to this day. Rockstar built a bully sequel, 6 to 8 hours of it playable, gone. And Valve can't count to 3. It's not just a meme. There's a real, very human reason Half-Life 2 Episode 3 never shipped. 8 games, 8 ghosts, real ones, not rumours. And by the end, we're picking if we'd trade a year of our life to actually play one of these lost games.
Dan with a gaming flair, pixel dreams and worlds to share, joystick tales and button cues. Welcome to Gaming Views. Level up.
Hello and welcome to Gaming Views. I'm Dan H, your host for today's exciting episode. And with me, as always, he's 49 as of last Sunday, which makes him older than every single game on today's list combined. Somehow he's still fully functional, still in development, and definitely not vaporware. It is my forever co-host, Mr. Dan P. How you doing, my friend?
I'm doing all right, except for the blatant lies you just said when I spent about 5 minutes before we pressed recorded moaning about my eyesight. But
you said you're in development.
I'm doing very well. It's the way I got distracted. It's the way you said hard in that intro distracted me.
Did I say hard?
Yeah,
was it hard H on the hard?
It was hard everything. But anyway, moving on. No, I'm all right, Dan. How are you?
I'm okay. It's flipping warm, but one of my girls very kindly donated that. We bought these misting fans.
Mm-hmm.
And they're really good. And so they very kindly lent me one, but I realised I can only have it at a certain speed. Otherwise, all you hear is... So I've had to turn it right down, but it seems to be working. So it's keeping me cool.
Yeah, and that's for our ASMR channel when we eventually reach it. That'll be
yeah, totally. I mean, I saved you all because I was in a vest shortly before this and nobody needs to see that because it was that warm today. So yeah.
But chuck us money and Dan will do anything.
Patreon. It's still not done it. Right, on with the show. Let's get on with it. We've got a lot to get through. Today, we will be talking about lost games that never fully made it to release. And hopefully our listeners will recognize a bunch of these. We're going to go through 8 of them, Dan. I'm going to walk you through the pitch of the game. We're going to talk a bit about maybe why it was cancelled, what happened, some fun facts and stuff around it. Just have a chat around how you feel about it, how I feel about it, whether it was worth releasing. And then at the end, I just want to go through a few modern watch list games. So ones that might be out there that are showing at-risk signs. Only 3, don't worry, people. Not going to keep you too long. So yeah, let's crack on with it. Right. I want to open up with an infamous one. I remember this one because I was super excited at the time because I was a massive fan of everything that Blizzard did at the time. I was a huge World of Warcraft fan. I was a huge fan of Warcraft, the RTS, and this is StarCraft Ghost. So StarCraft Ghost would have been, as I said, developed by Blizzard Entertainment, around about 2002 to 2006 this was. So, it was going to be a stealth action spin-off of the StarCraft RTS. So the ghosts were kind of the spies, the stealthy ninja types, and it was going to be developed for the GameCube, Xbox, and PS2. It was announced in 2002 originally. Then the GameCube version got cancelled in 2005, and then it kept slipping. And I distinctly remember seeing this. Do you recall StarCraft Ghost? Is it something you even remember?
It's one I would have remembered seeing the headlines in the magazines because this was back in the heyday of printed press, right? So I would have remembered that. StarCraft isn't a franchise that I was overly invested in, but yeah, I do remember it kind of, the whole, it's coming, then you get no mention, but outside that, but describing it, I think it would have been one I would have loved, to be fair. So.
I think it would have been awesome. I mean, and I remember, I'm pretty sure there's some video out there of this, so I will have a look and see if we can find some kind of prototype stuff. But yeah, so as I said, the GameCube version got cancelled in 2005, continued to slip, and then Wired News back then used to do their annual Vaporware Awards, and I'm sure Duke Nukem would have appeared on there, and other games like that would have been. He's not on this list, by the way. I can safely say that. But this was ranked number 5 in their annual Vaporware Awards that year in 2005. So yeah, and then in 2006, Blizzard put the game on indefinite hold while they evaluated next gen consoles. So obviously, we were still moving through the the console generations at that point. Not anymore today, apparently. Well, maybe. And then it just kind of quietly died a death. And then no one really knew whether it was alive or whether it was dead. So yeah, it's a shame on this one. I'm a bit peeved because I would have liked to have seen StarCraft Ghost at its fullest.
Peeved, but you raise a good point. You mentioned Duke Nukem. Now that was a game that was in development hell for at least a decade, right?
Yeah.
But then it comes out, right? And there's a number of games where they eventually they're held together with a sticky plaster and hope, and just still pushed out there to fail miserably. But yet some games that show real promise, and your list is just incredible. Yeah, it just makes me wonder why some of them persevere with some of these games.
Yeah, and keep pushing on them.
And then, something like this doesn't. I think it's incredible.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
This is quite a mad one, this one, because when you read into it a bit, so the developers who were actually working on it, they constantly talked about it having a bit of an identity crisis. So it kept kind of flip-flopping between stealth and action, and they weren't quite sure which camp to fall in. But reportedly, Blizzard ended up just going, well, just choose whichever one's trending. Like, what's the flavor of the moment? Is it action? Is it to just go with that? And then obviously at the time, you remember games like Gears of War and things like that were coming out that were really pushing towards additional multiplayer elements. So they wanted to add some of that into this game as well. So that started then, imagine you've got a very focused story, and then it's like, well, how do we stick multiplayer on top of this? And how do we add it in and make it cohesive? Because the devs didn't think it would fit. So yeah, a bit mad that they cancelled it, but it wasn't their only one. They cancelled another StarCraft shooter, codenamed Ares, that was killed in 2025. So that was much more recent. And there was, so they're still trying to hammer away at this stuff and not particularly doing a good job of it. So yeah, I personally, like I said, I followed StarCraft Ghost at the time avidly, and I'm still, even now, even to stay a little bit gutted it didn't come out, because I think it could have been brilliant.
Well, as I said, without the spoilers, every game on your list, I think, would have had an audience, right? And this, look, and again, I can't remember back in the day what Blizzard were really up to, but do you think it fell down to also it felt too extreme or too different to their bread and butter? And
I absolutely think that's it, because any studio does something outside of what their standard fare is. So their RTSs were, were infamous, the kind of StarCraft and the Warcraft. And then you had World of Warcraft, which was the MMORPG, obviously, that they would have been focused on in these days. It absolutely had masses of teams working on to try and build the momentum that it still has today. So yeah, you can imagine that a studio going, it feels like a bit of a risk doing something, a bit action, a bit stealth, but not really knowing which.
Yeah. And that's the other thing. Sorry, and if anyone listening or was either involved or knows anyone in something like this, I wonder what it's like as somebody working on a project like that, where you've got maybe a year, 2 years plus. Look, they're being paid, right? So that's, I guess, the end of the day for them. But when you've put so much blood, sweat and tears into a project for it to be canned, when it was potentially 20% just to go or 10% to get it over the line, I wonder what it must feel like.
Oh, absolutely gutting, I'd imagine. I mean, there'll be, we know recently, we won't go into it, but we know recently there have been studios that have been so close to completing a game that then that game's been canned, literally pulled even when it's ready to go or minutes from being ready. So, sad one. Look, and if you remember StarCraft Ghost as fondly as I do, or what was left of it, give us a chat, put it in the comments. Right, I'm going to move on to our next one, Dan. This one, I don't think there's anyone out there who doesn't remember PT. And if you don't, welcome to the club, because PT was bonkers. So it was developed by Kojima Productions, so that's Hideo Kojima, in league with Guillermo del Toro and Norman Reedus. And if that's familiar to you, I will point out why shortly, if they're those three names ringing together. And Junji Ito, who was also destined to appear in the game. So essentially, PT was revealed as a playable teaser, PT, at Gamescom 2014, and credited to a fake studio but actually it was supposed to be the reveal of a new Silent Hills game. Dan, I know you're a massive Silent Hills fan. What do you remember about PT at the time? What was your overriding memory of?
Feeling very jealous that I didn't have a PlayStation at the time. But just being excited about it. Look, right, this is another one that I know I probably wouldn't have been able to play it possibly for many years, whether it would have gone on to PC. But again, you know, we keep saying games should come out. We want more games. And I think games like this, but what I remember was just the whole, fever around it, because it, you know, everybody who played it was saying how good it was, how tense it was, how I don't know if scary is the right word, but the tension of the game.
It is the right word.
I remember seeing the videos. I remember seeing people review about it. Obviously, what happened afterwards when it get cancelled. I mean, we've mentioned it a couple of times in some of our episodes, but I just remember the whole fever around it, and just really this one, you know, is gutting for me. Like I said, I might not have had the chance to play it, but this feels like, especially from Kojima and Del Toro, that's a combination. I think I want to see all their games. Anything they think about, I want to see come out, because this looked like it could have been one of the most immersive horror games of the time, right?
It was very clever, and it was so well done. And I don't think even now, I don't think I recognized it for what it was. Look, I'm openly not a massive fan of Silent Hill games. So when this came out, yes, I saw it because I followed the video game news, and as we all do, but it wasn't something that immediately grabbed me. And I was like, I've got to have that. I did have a PlayStation at the time, and I decided to download the game because I was like, well, it's out there and everyone's talking about it, so I'll see what all the fuss is about, kind of thing, rather than, oh my God, new Silent Hills game, I've got to. And I've spoken about this on the podcast before, and I sat there and I played it. We had a little nook in our old house in the dark, in a big screen TV with my two kids who were about 13 and 15 at the time, something like that. My daughter being younger, my son being older, and that we were taking it in turns, because it was one of those games you could get, because it was a bit like, you know, those like anomaly games where you walk through a thing and something changes and you're just doing this circuit route of a house for all intents. There wasn't much to it. But as you said, the atmosphere and the way it built tension and the way things were just slightly skewed or slightly off, or if you turned around, a figure was there, or you saw something out the corner of your eye. That's the kind of thing. It was fucking brilliantly done, like genuinely. And the number of jump scares, and I have said like about when my daughter jumped so much she hit herself in the face with a controller because she was and it took everything for my son and me just not to absolutely piss ourselves laughing, because it was so funny. But the game, absolutely brilliant.
Yeah.
So Del Toro was heavily involved. So he's openly said actually he's seen what appeared to be design ideas from this actually echoed in some later games like The Last of Us and things like that. But what actually killed the game? So look, we know there was a public breakdown between Kojima during the Metal Gear Solid 5 development. Between Kojima and Konami, and primarily this is due to Konami they wanted to strip his name from a lot of the promotion materials during it, and it went over budget quite significantly. They announced the cancellation of the game in April 2015. So sorry, this is 2014, 2015, this game. So they announced the cancellation in 2015. And essentially multiple reports basically suggest that Konami have been pivoting away from console games back towards pachinko machines and mobile gaming, which were a much higher revenue, higher margin business at the time. So this had been happening for about 5 years previous. Kojima also went significantly over, as I said, with Metal Gear Solid 5 by about 80 million. So not small change.
No, and that game, the release of that game was a whole cluster as well, wasn't it? Bits missing.
I mean, even
it.
You said, I think it felt unfinished.
Yeah.
It felt it dragged on quite a lot. I mean, you can see where the budget was spent, I guess.
Yeah, I think there was chunks of it missing. So I mean, if an argument is the reason why we didn't get this, I'm miffed at that.
Yeah, and the over budget thing was said to be the kind of final straw, and Konami's leadership at the time wanted to kind of reform the development team. And you'll hear similar things, I'm sure, coming up in news and things like that in other episodes, into an army of low cost, high output workers, which is a philosophy fundamentally at odds with how Kojima works. I did mention that you'll be familiar that Guillermo del Toro and Norman Reedus obviously stayed attached to Kojima quite closely, because then they both appear in Death Stranding and Death Stranding 2. So Guillermo del Toro plays Deadman. Yes, Deadman. Yeah. And Norman Reedus the star. So yeah, they've stayed attached and very close. And I think Norman Reedus has subsequently become a bit of a muse to Kojima, isn't he? So
and sorry, the other thing about this one, especially when you look at list, was this ended up in players' hands, or at least a part of it. Yeah. And that's the cruel thing as well, that it was a playable demo. You actually
got a sample of that drug that you wanted.
And if it was rubbish, it's one thing. But
yeah, totally. I mean, look, I've got huge hopes and high hopes, even though, like I said, Silent Hill not my thing. I've got high hopes for OD, which is the current horror game that Kojima's working on, and looks just as gnarly. I'm just hoping they do something a bit similar and kind of release a little chunk, not cancel it, but release a little chunk of it and kind of go, this is what it could be like. I think I'll get people salivating. Who knows, maybe it is another Silent Hills game. It's not.
Well, yeah. It needs to reference it. It may, maybe call it, I don't know, ID interactive demo instead of playable teaser. I mean, the game is OD, so you never know. There's something there.
This is true. Right. Number 3 on the list. Oh, number 3, Star Wars 1313. Many threes. So between, that was coincidental. Between 2012 and 2013, LucasArts internal development were making a gritty, mature bounty hunter set and led a Star Wars game set on the planet of Coruscant. For those of you familiar with Star Wars, it's where the Jedi's temple is, and where a lot of the battles in the prequels happen. But this was centered on a young Boba Fett. I remember this one quite distinctly, Dan. I remember seeing footage of it, in fairness, after. I think a lot of footage was released post cancellation, but there was a lot about this going around at the time. And I think a lot of people were really eager to see it, because there was or actually get their hands on it, because there was an E3 demo, I think, that came out, but may have not been actual gameplay. What's your memory of 1313?
This is another one that annoyed me. And look, just between us, right? I've never really been a massive...
You mean us and the people watching?
Yeah, just between us. I've never, of the films, I was never a huge fan of the films, or I learned to love them much later on in life. So I was never a huge fan. But the games were something else. I played pretty much all the games. I loved the games, because why wouldn't you? It's a universe that keeps getting repeated now, whether it's Mass Effect or, do you know what I mean? That whole space opera. And I felt with the games, you didn't necessarily need to know the films, like Knights of the Old Republic, one of my favorite games. So I'd always, whenever there was talk of a new Star Wars game, and I remember seeing this, and, even the name when you're younger is quite cool, 1313, it's quite catchy when you see it written down. For it to be cancelled, and we get like pod races and stuff like that, but we don't get something that could make you feel like you're in that universe again, like having those battles, etc.
And for me, what was even more frustrating was after it was cancelled, you then got to see the possibility of what it could have been like, and you're kind of like, oh, it actually looks pretty cool. And look, some fans do believe that Jedi Fallen Order actually picked up some of the assets and things like that, and actually, and I do think you can see some of that. But I think it at the time, but you got to remember, people, this is pre-Mandalorian. This would have been a proper Star Wars game without lightsabers, without force powers, without any of that around it. It would have been literally set in the world of gangsters, the world of Star Wars gangsters, the Hutts and the things like that. And I think it could have been a fascinating thing to do.
Yeah. And Boba Fett, look, we've said, and I can't remember this with you, but for a character who in the original films anyway was so little of it, but got such a massive cult following, it's crazy that they didn't want to cash in on that as well.
Yeah. I mean, less than 2 minutes screen time in Empire Strikes Back, with the other bounty hunters.
Yeah,
and builds up this cult following. I mean, always one of my favourites.
Yeah,
absolutely.
It's a cool sort of armor, isn't it? Outfit and the ship.
I think it was the mystique around the Mandalorian Empire and how that had happened and what had happened to them and who they were and what they were, you know, because, and this is the great thing that George Lucas did. He seeded these things, whether he had a plan around them or not, up for debate, but he seeded these things and people went, oh man, that sounds really cool. I'd love to know more about it. And then,
but like you said,
he tried to explain it and it went downhill.
Like you said, I think the main characters of Star Wars are all, it's really goody, isn't it? Good. Yeah. It's sort of storybook good for evil. Whereas you know, the Boba Fett, the bounty hunters, they felt like they were, like you said, like the gangsters. They were the we don't want to look at that because they're the evil people, or not evil, but the immoral people. We're focusing on the real good v evil battle, and that's
anti-heroes, kind of right? They made being bad cool. Yes, that was the thing about Boba Fett. You know, that's what he did. He made them. I mean, he was like, for a while, he was the most expensive action figure in the world. You know, it's like, you know, with this prototype rocket pack and stuff. I mean, it's mad. Absolutely insane.
So why wouldn't you want to expand on that? Yeah.
Oh, exactly. However, having said that, so they put this flashy demo at E3 in 2012. I'll get some footage up but the reality of that is it's probably smoke and mirrors. So it reportedly ran on some top of the line, be familiar, NVIDIA PC rigs, you know, so we see a lot of these days. That game looks really good. Yes, you can't afford it. And people who worked adjacent to the project describe it as having more of a tech showcase for LucasArts to prove the game was actually close to done. It wasn't. And there's also a lingering mystery over who the protagonist was meant to be. So was it meant to be a young Boba Fett, or was that just added later because people were pissed at the fact it'd been cancelled? And to this day, even the game's animators have been really cagey about it and haven't confirmed anything. So
hold on, sorry, did you say it was added later maybe because people were pissed off it was cancelled?
Yeah. So, that's the way to make them not pissed off.
So you attach one of the most, what we've just said. Basically, rewind the last 5 minutes and you'll see what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, exactly. So but look, ultimately it was killed because Disney acquired Lucasfilm. So on the 3rd of April 2013, Disney shut down internal development at LucasArts entirely, laid off staff and pivoted the studio to a licensing only model, which is why you've now seen other teams come in. And I think Respawn Entertainment were working on one up until recently. Star Wars Eclipse is another one being worked on by, what's his name? David Cage.
Yes, yeah,
his studio. So they killed all in-house projects at once, not just this one. But sucks.
Brutal.
Right, next one, number 4 on the list. Dan, I know you will have something to say about this one. So this is Scalebound. This was around about 2014 to 2017. This would have been made in conjunction with PlatinumGames, Xbox, Microsoft, and directed by Hideki Kamiya. So this is basically an Xbox exclusive action game. It was kind of Devil May Cry style combat, but you were bonded with a dragon and it had 4-player co-op. It looked epic. So they released a play trailer of it. Again, this one, they may have actually stood on stage and played it. I think. Played it on stage, you know, as they do. And I just remember it looking phenomenal at the time. You got to remember, this is back in 2013, 2014, you know, it looked incredible at the time. It really did look very, very good and very smooth and slick. And, you know, before the games we have today, and everything looks much more polished and shiny. Yeah. Dan, Scalebound.
I didn't realise that it was that long ago. It was cancelled. It still feels quite fresh. This one, look, on the list, I know there's a couple I mentioned to you I would have brought up, but this is the one, and it's funny because I didn't mention this to you. This is the one, if I would say it hurt me, like you said, StarCraft, I think it was this one for a number of reasons, right? You know, you said number one, it was an Xbox exclusive, which look, for years, that's what they've needed, right? We've been saying, or people have been saying. Secondly, it's a Platinum game. Thirdly, it just looked amazing. And who wouldn't want to be playing with a dragon in a game, right? And, you know, look, there's this studio. Look, it's not to say everything they release is guaranteed to be a success, but when you're using a studio like that, and I was just trying to remind myself, so you've got, you know, Nia, you've got Vanquish, you know, big games back in the day, right?
Yeah.
This is the one that hurt. And again, like you said, I'm sure I remember at the time there was stories like it is 80% done, or it was close. And then for whatever reason, you just got the stories, no, it's not coming out anymore. And so this one hurt.
Yeah, unfortunately, finally cancelled in January 2017, this one, after numerous delays. So, as I said, announced in 2014 and then, 3 years later. But it wasn't a one-sided story. The reason for the cancellation was the studio head at the time, Atsushi Inaba, basically said that both sides had failed. Platinum admitted they were completely inexperienced in using the Unreal Engine at the time and no familiarity with online or co-op games. So they didn't really have the team to build what was necessary to make it a premium product. We know what Microsoft are like. If a studio doesn't meet their exacting standards and quality expectations, they will likely pull the plug on these things, no matter how much has gone into it or how close to real it was. So yeah, unfortunately. But the interesting thing about this one, Dan, I didn't know this until I was reading on this. This still has an active revival campaign. So both Kamiya and Inaba have still publicly, up until the recent change in leadership at Xbox, asked Phil Spencer to revive it.
Interesting.
So yeah. So there's a quote from Kamiya on. I'll try and find it, but basically saying, Phil, let's do it together. So because he wants to bring the game back.
It's interesting. Like I said, look, a lot of these games are from, well, so far they've been like 10 plus years ago, right? And there's a reason, right? That, like I said, it could be a perfect combination. This one just feels unfortunate rather than like the PT was a fallout. Get that? Why don't they? Someone must still own the rights, like I said, and just look through that book. Look at it like a photo of a spurned lover or someone who did take that chance. Take that chance. Go on, do it, Microsoft. Do it again, because it's like maybe it wasn't the right time for that game to come out, but now we're in a period of time where people just want games, right? And like you said, revisit it.
I want new games. I want these type of games we're discussing.
This is it.
Because I don't want Call of Duty again. I don't want Assassin's Creed again. I don't, yes, I enjoy playing some of them, but give me something new.
This is it. This isn't a title with the number 5 at the end of it. This was a new from a great studio. Yeah. We've said it all, but if there is an opportunity, make it happen. Everyone listening, make it happen.
Yeah. And what you could do with today's technology as well.
Yeah.
It'd be absolutely phenomenal. Sad times. All right, let's move on to number 5 on the list. These aren't in any particular order, by the way. I'm not doing a countdown. This is Prey 2. So this was originally announced in 2011 and cancelled formally in 2014. So this was by Human Head Studios, but to be published by Bethesda. It would have been a total reboot of 2006's Prey, which I've played. I don't know if you have.
Yeah, at the time, yeah.
Yeah, I really enjoyed it. So this would have seen a new protagonist, US Marshal Killian Samuels, basically falling into what would have been an open world bounty hunter structure. It was a single player only game. I saw the footage and I think it was probably a bit of smoke and mirrors footage of this and instantly fell in love with this game. It looked incredible. Do you remember seeing this?
No, do you know what? This one has slipped out the old grey matter. Yeah.
It genuinely, the whole thing is set on an alien planet, and it's almost like, when Star Wars does alien planets really well, when like dirty backwater kind of, maybe not maybe some of Star Wars, but sci-fi in general does. The streets look a little bit Blade Runner-ish, and there's lots of neon and things like that splashing around, and it starts this thing, and I think the guy's having a conversation, like trying to find a bounty, and he's using this thing to locate them, and he ends up chasing them down through this, through the city. It just looked mad. It looked like something beyond what you had in those days. There was nothing that was kind of like could touch what that was showing at the time, which is why I suspect it was probably not.
Yeah. Well, that we've mentioned that before, haven't we? And the gaming industry used to love the whole. Oh, look, this is what we're showing you. It's not what you're going to get. So would this have been, because there have been other Prey games, would this have been a sequel to
No. So obviously Bethesda own Arcane, and Arcane basically took the Prey name, but it was recycled for their 2017 reboot, which was completely unrelated, set on the space station with the morphing, shape-shifting aliens. Yeah, I loved Prey, by the way, the Arcane joint. I mean, I love everything Arcane do. Hopefully they're still around to make some more stuff. But yeah, so it wouldn't have been the same, but
So
I know where you're going.
Prey 2, but would have been a sequel, but a
reboot
remake of the first one, right?
No, well, not even a remake, because the first one you were kind of kidnapped and trapped on an alien ship with some weird physics. So yeah, not a sequel, but related, because in the footage, you basically, there's a twist at the end of it where the original hero, Tommy, is supposed to meet up with the new protagonist.
Right.
So there's that intersecting, and whether you got to play as him or not, I don't know. So so unfortunately, development stopped in 2011, despite reaching a near alpha state. There was no reason. Rumors were given of a contract dispute where Bethesda tried to leverage a deal to acquire the actual studio outright, but Bethesda didn't actually put the formal cancellation out until 2014. So yeah, again, like I said, it's one of the messier who's to blame. It's kind of, there was an anonymous human head source that, as I said, alleged that Bethesda deliberately failed the project's milestones and cut funding to force a cheap buyout of the studio. So they kind of, rather than it being successful, which would have been a shitty move. But Pete Hines from Bethesda publicly denied that there was any sort of sabotage. The irony is Human Head closed anyway, after a different legal dispute with someone else. So, and most of his devs ended up working for Bethesda. Now, whether they still do or not, I don't know, but under the Roundhouse Studios. Yeah, a shame. As I said, the name was recycled and used for Arcane's totally unrelated 2017 game, which again, not too worried, because it was a fantastic game.
Yeah. All I'd say about this one, last thing is, it's funny, isn't it? I know there've been another game, like I said, unrelated, but Prey is still one of those ones that if you're of a generation or you played it, it still strikes a chord with you, because it was such a good game and so different at the time as well, wasn't it? Yeah, so it's funny, kind of the cachet that name has got. Yeah. Yeah,
the original Prey is so jarringly different to what was shown, and as I say, when I show some footage, you'll see what I mean. It was a very different beast in and of itself. You actually ended up becoming a bounty hunter, and okay. Number 6. Now, this is a title I severely think that hardly anyone will have heard of this, but I put it on the list specifically. This is Half-Life 2 Episode 3. Not Half-Life 3, people. Okay. Half-Life 2 Episode 3, created by Valve. Those familiar with it, I hope everyone's familiar with it, Half-Life. So this would have been the final chapter of Half-Life 2's episodic trilogy. So it would have closed Episode 2's cliffhanger. Yeah. So this is where Gordon Freeman essentially ends up trying to rescue Eli Vance, who ends up dying. Spoiler alert. Sorry. For those who've played Half-Life Alyx, TBC is all I'll say. So yeah, there was some concepts floating around for this. There was the Arctic setting and the ship that was in there, and the Borealis, which was the ship. I think I've got to get some words out. There was also an ice gun and some blob-like enemies. There's a bunch of video and stuff around and Valve openly admitted this. They showed some development footage of this when they did their Half-Life 2 video documentary a couple of years ago. So what is interesting about this one, though, Dan, is there's not really been a formal cancellation on this. So they kind of just went quiet. Just haven't said anything to anyone. Yeah. Which is where the Valve can't count to 3 thing comes from, because they go 1, 2, I don't know.
It's just amazing, this one. It just feels like that it's because they don't have to do it, which is, I think, why it's not been cancelled. It's almost like, there is no need, it's not like Valve is struggling or anything. Yeah. It's a shame if that is the reason, because not only for that people want Half-Life 3, but I'd completely forgotten, about the massive, it's a massive cliffhanger at the end of season 2, episode 2.
Season 2.
And the other thing about it is, so Half-Life 1 is what it is. Great game, very dated. Half-Life 2 itself, great game. It's a bit dated, but what I mean in the sense of the episodes, when they introduced Alex, who kind of brought that bit of warmth, wasn't it? You started getting characters, her and Eli. And it just made it like, even though they were kind of episodic, but they were still sort of fairly chunky episodes, right?
Huge. They were hours and hours long. They weren't, you know, when we talk about episodic games, particularly in
Telltale and stuff like that.
The Telltale things, like, they're a couple of hours and you go, well, it didn't really last long. But these were massive. Because I started playing through them again and realised how bloody long they were.
But they were intriguing. Like I said, they brought characters with warmth. You had the robot, like the robot dog thing.
Dog.
Yeah. Oh, was it dog? Yeah.
Dog. Yeah.
Was it the gravity gun?
Yeah.
And it just feels like it's a story that deserves to be finished. So rather than it also being it's a game that needs to come out, it's a story that deserves an ending.
It needs an ending.
Yeah.
It absolutely needs an ending. And even, as I said, even Half-Life Alyx doesn't end the story. Look, if you're interested, go and watch it. There's plenty of stuff on there on YouTube for it or anywhere else to find out what happens in Alyx. But it's fascinating how they've kind of tried to tie it up. But it's still left completely open. So yeah, as I said, there was a 2024 documentary that basically openly admitted, and the devs who worked on it openly admitted that it needed more feature development. It wasn't ready, but Left 4 Dead became the priority. And by the time that had kind of shipped and was finished, it just felt too late to go back, which is a real shame. So I said there was no specific, someone's come out and said it's dead, but I think that documentary almost kind of put it to bed. That was the 20th anniversary documentary because they did show prototype footage in there, as I said. So what's interesting is Mark Laidlaw, who was the writer of Half-Life, he left Valve in 2016, but he did publish an unofficial fan fiction epilogue called Epistle 3, which is basically roughly read, and I have read it, how the whole thing would have ended. Okay. So if you are interested, you can go and find it online and read it. I think he published it on his blog. There is a popular fan theory that blames the company's flat structure for this. So they don't have a traditional management hierarchy at Valve. It's very flat. So employees can basically choose their own projects, and some ex-staff and industry observers basically suggest that the structure makes it hard for anything that's struggling to kind of get across the finish line because nobody is there going, just finish it, make sure it gets done. So, which sometimes works in companies' favours and sometimes doesn't, I guess.
Maybe they've deleted all the assets. Maybe somebody unplugged something.
Yeah. But we know there are huge rumours around Half-Life 3 still floating around, and the Steam machine proved that it didn't come out as a launch game. Yeah. Even then, there were rumours that it just wasn't ready. That's why it was supposed to be, but it just wasn't ready, or it's waiting for the frame. Do you want that? I mean, I enjoyed Half-Life Alyx, but I'm not sure I'm ready for Freeman in VR. We'll see. Okay, 2 more to go. We will move along now to, I think these are both Rockstar, actually. So we will move along to these. So we have got Agent. So in 2007, they announced Agent, which would have been an open world Cold War spy game set in the 70s. It was going to be a PlayStation 3 exclusive. And as I said, teased in 2007, formally announced in 2009 at E3. And it was essentially going to be a counterintelligence, espionage and political assassinations game. I do not remember anything about Agent.
Oh, really?
I just don't. It was never on my radar. I've said it before. I'm sorry. I'm not a massive Rockstar GTA fan. I never played Bully. Hands up. So I don't remember anything about Agent. Dan, what do you remember?
So again, I remember really wanting this because it's, the huge GTA fan, but not even that. They did. I never bought it, but I played it. They had the table tennis game. Do you remember they did that? And that was good.
I do remember that.
That was good. That was like sort of high production value on it. They had the racing game, didn't they? So they did turn their hands to other things that they did well. I just wanted something. Look, spies are cool, right? Let's say
I totally agree with that.
Yeah, spies are cool. And I was just trying to imagine a world that they could create, if you took the GTA world but transformed it into, it would have been the James Bond game we never had, to me, in that sense. Now we've got 007 First Light, and I know we had GoldenEye, but it would have been that kind of step into feeling like you're a James Bond. So I remember the story. I remember there wasn't too much being said, but, there'd be the columns in the magazines or on the websites. And then, like I said, it just gets announced it's cancelled. Now, nobody then flutters an eyelid because GTA, the next one will come out at some point, right? So everyone's aware of that. But yeah, it just, that's what was fascinating for me, is that what could they have done with a spy world? Take themselves out. I don't want to say comfort zone because that makes them sound like they're taking the easy route by just making another GTA when we know that it's taken 10 years, etc., to do it. But do something different. Do something different.
Was there ever any footage or images or anything of the game?
Not that I saw. I don't remember seeing it. I think it was all kind of discussions. And I think, look, we know how tight Rockstar keeps things to their chest, right? How close they keep their cards. So I don't remember seeing things about it. It was just discussions in magazines and the columns, or like, we've seen this or we've heard this.
Right.
It was never anything. I don't think they did any formal shows or anything like right. We've said for the other games.
Because, and I guess that kind of tracks. So it was, they barely addressed the thing for more than a decade. They renewed the trademark time and time again. So they renewed it in 2013 and again 4 years later in 2017, but then abandoned it completely, it would seem, in 2018, with the game being scrubbed completely from their website. So we were still on their website up until 2021. Mm-hmm. The former technical director, Obey Vermage, said it was seen as too much of a distraction from GTA, which tracks.
Yeah. I mean, and look, we said about Valve Half-Life, they don't need to do another game again, as in a different type of game.
Totally.
They don't even have to do GTA
6. One release every decade or every 2 decades and they're set.
Yeah. So this is something, I don't think we'd ever see now. And I think maybe the time has gone for that. Look, we've had a great 007 game come out, so I don't think they're crying into their $100 bills.
No,
about it,
no.
So.
The co-founder Dan Houser essentially revealed that it went through 5 different iterations and the open world format just never worked for a spy story. Not being funny.
That's not good.
Don't do an open world format then.
Oh yeah, I mean, does it have to be? That's the thing. It's like another live service or something. It's the live service of 2018 or whatever, 2012.
Yeah. So, internally the project was codenamed Jimmy, which came to light in 2013. So inevitably, we know that Rockstar sometimes get hacked and data mined. So somebody data mined the GTA 5 source code and found a character model for the protagonist that was buried under a folder literally codenamed Jimmy. So, a popular fan theory says that Rockstar cancelled a whole graveyard of projects. So Agent, Bully 2, Midnight Club 5, purely to funnel everything into GTA Online's profits. The former mentioned technical director, Obey Vermage, basically pushed back on that, saying that Agent simply just didn't work as a concept after 5 different attempts, again, which tracks with what Dan Houser had said, and that it, like Bully 2, would have been a distraction from GTA regardless of the online success.
And what happened to GTA, eh?
Well, I know that nobody really buys that anymore, does it? Some reports also point to an internal disagreement around 2014 between producer Leslie Benzies and the Houser brothers over how much to prioritize online titles versus single player. Though how much that is affected Agent is completely unconfirmed. So just rumor and conjecture, people, just rumor and conjecture. All right, Agent, sadly missed for Dan. Sadly not remembered for other Dan. Speaking of Bully 2, last one on the list, Dan.
Yeah.
Again, Rockstar, script by Dan Houser. So this would have been a sequel to 2006 cult favourite Bully, following Jimmy Hopkins in the Bulworth Academy setting. Dan, you're going to have to explain Bully to me. I have never played it.
I really enjoyed this. It was fun. It's really easy to say, but it was like a smaller, less serious GTA game in a sense. So it's about Jimmy gets sent to this like boarding school, and it's about the shenanigans he gets up to in it. So it's all sort. There's loads of mini games. You have to go to class. You have to make sure you go to class, and those are mini games. You've got like biology, which is a dissection game, which I'm not sure would happen now. I think there was a music like a quick time event action game. In the meantime, you've got an overarching story with other characters, other kids, etc. You'd have to cycle to or skateboard to other parts of the town. It was never going to trouble the big hitters of the gaming world, but it was a fun kind of not GTA, but gave you the comfort of it being like a GTA game.
Were there? I remember someone talking about pea shooters.
Yeah, there was also, I can't remember.
Or a rifle or something. There was an air rifle.
Yeah, air rifle. I think you've got the old slingshot, the catapult, like the catapults. Imagine, all the cliches. Well, I'm imagining cliches we saw of kids at American school where we were growing up. It was kind of that. And
was it set in America? Was it set?
I believe it. Yeah. Is it? Yeah, I think it was. Yeah.
I always had in my head for some reason it was in the UK. I don't know why.
No, I'm pretty sure it was. But yeah, and look, I'd mentioned to you that this was one that I found a shame more because it would have been fun to have had a sequel. It was a fun game, like I said, and it's just a different. It's not GTA, although it is. And it was the first game was fun. I just wanted more of it, and I think with Rockstar they do whatever you think of them, they do iterate for the better in their games.
Yeah.
I don't think there's ever a backward step. So, I would have liked to have got up to more shenanigans, basically, yeah.
Yeah, I still hear lots of things about remakes of Bully and, are they going to polish it off? But Bully 2, so never happened. The script was written for it in 2008. A small team had spent up to 18 months actually building it in the Rage engine, reaching a genuinely playable state, and one source claims that 6 to 8 hours of playable content was available. It was then cancelled in 2010 as the team got pulled into Red Dead Redemption, and the momentum just kind of fizzled out. Dan Houser confirmed in 2025 it came down to bandwidth issues. Too few senior staff to run every project once Rockstar wanted to make it once. How many games do they make at once? Because if he's saying that in 2025, I'm pretty sure they're only making one and GTA Online.
Yeah.
I mean, I could be wrong.
I don't think I've seen any others come out.
No. In 2022, some concept art and scripted pages surfaced. So there was a source code leak at Rockstar, who knew, confirming just how real that project had been. Yeah, but unlike pretty much every other project on this list or game on this list, Rockstar has never fully closed the door. Even Dan Houser recently said he'd like to make another Bully game someday. So it is possible that you could see a Bully 2 or Bully in some other kind of form at some point, Dan.
I do, if it stays in this school thing, though, I do wonder if it's missed the boat on that now, though, because in terms of games have changed and we've all aged as well with it. So I do wonder how relevant it will be unless it's a totally different setting. But, they know what they're doing. So,
well, they make enough money.
Yeah.
So, just worth mentioning that the Bully did face huge controversy when it was released. Advocacy groups branded it a Columbine simulator, which we know isn't true, but campaigned to have it banned and lots of fear-mongering around it, but saying it basically glorified school violence. But it was eventually cleared for release. And the same GTA Online theory as Agent applied, which is, they piled all their money into it, but it got the same pushback. Houser basically said that just wasn't true. It just came down to having too few executive people to run it. It just doesn't happen. But like I said, not dead, apparently.
Sorry, the whole controversy thing was a joke. It was just one of those knee-jerk reactions. People clearly hadn't played the game. So much so that, at least, I think it was in the UK or some parts of the world, it was called Canis Canem Edit as well, wasn't it? It was given a Latin name, Dog Eat Dog, I think, rather than Bully, because, we couldn't have a game. Because that would
be a game called Bully.
It's an instruction. It's not a title. It's an instruction, basically. So,
yeah. All right. Question for you, Dan.
Mm-hmm.
That's 8 games, 8 ghosts of games. You've got StarCraft Ghost, Silent Hills PT, Star Wars 1313, Scalebound, Prey 2, Half-Life 2, Episode 3, Agent, and Bully 2. Sell me your soul for one of those games. Which one, if you could bring it back, would you bring back?
Really difficult. It's one of 2, so I'm only going to say one because that's what you've told me.
You've only got one soul, mate.
Scalebound. It'll be Scalebound. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Something new.
Yeah, I think, as I said, because at the time I didn't have a PlayStation, so while I would love to have seen PT, there are games that come out that have that vibe.
Yeah.
Scalebound just feels like a real missed opportunity. And like I said at the time, that's the one that if any of them hurts, it's that one.
Fair point. Fair point. I'm going to surprise absolutely no one by choosing Half-Life 2 Episode 3. I love Half-Life. I love Half-Life, Dan. I've loved it since I was a kid. I love it up until this point. I love everything about it. And to not get the third part of that trilogy was a massive gut punch. So, I would love to see that come back. For everything I said about wanting new games and not things with another number on the end of it, if it's Half-Life, I'd make a huge exception. So, yeah. Right. Before we close, I do just want to talk through 3 possible modern watch list games that I think are showing at-risk signs of going the same way. So let's start with Marvel's 1943 Rise of Hydra. So this was targeted for this year as a release date. It's now been indefinitely delayed. We remember seeing this, blimey, 3-4 years ago. I think this is Amy Hennig again. I think she was involved in Star Wars 1313 as well, if I remember. She's got a track record. So yeah, there's been some quality control problems noted around this game and no date ever given. Always sign of a concern. Did you see anything about 1943 Rise of Hydra?
Do you know, this is what I was going to say. I think I remember at the time when it was first sort of breaking, but the fact that I didn't remember this game when you put it on the list shows, I think that, not that I'm the oracle for games, but I think it's...
No, that's fair.
For a Marvel game, for a Marvel title, the fact that there's nothing about it, I don't think.
Yeah, the trailer opens in kind of 1940s war-torn Europe. I think it might even be in France, but it's basically Black Panther and Captain America. So it's kind of the story of that. Yeah, I'll put some footage up, but yeah, I think this one is significantly at risk, but we shall see. The next one, I'm pretty sure it's a little bit of a cheat. I'm pretty sure this is definitely at risk, which is hugely unfortunate because I mentioned earlier how much I love the stuff that Arcane Leon put out. And this is Marvel's Blade, another Marvel title. It was announced in 2023. There's been no release date. It's been absence from pretty much everything Xbox has done since then. It's apparently massively over budget and been delayed till next year at a minimum. But then Xbox just laid off 1,600 staff from a broad range of studios, one of which was Arcane Leon. So, I just don't know where this project sits now or if it's even there. They did say broadly afterwards, I think, that it was still okay and it was still going to be released. But I just think I give it another year or two and they're going to come out and say, yeah, sorry, we didn't. What do you think?
I have faith that this will come out. I don't know why. I just think with Arcane, I think, they're, someone will come in. I think they'll get help. I think it's because is there not a new film coming out as well?
No, that's been put on the back burner as well.
Okay, I was going to say.
Yeah, actually this week, the Marsha Ali, who was going to star, has basically pulled out. So he's no longer starring in it as well. So yeah, that one's going, which is a shame because he would have been phenomenal. Yeah. He was brilliant in Luke Cage. He'd have been awesome in this. But
yeah, but I think, I don't know why, but me water tells me this will come out.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, fair enough. The final one we have, we mentioned this earlier, by Quantic Dream. This is Star Wars Eclipse. It was announced in 2021 with a weird trailer that didn't look very Star Wars at all. There's been nothing about it. No release window, no nothing. It is, as with all David Cage games, very, very slow development, but apparently little progress has been made and staff obviously gone on strike over layoffs and things like that. Yeah, it's apparently understaffed and struggling to be finished, but Quantic Dream insists that it will continue as planned. I don't know how much hope for this one.
What I was going to say is, weirdly, I think this will come out mainly because I think David Cage kind of gets what he wants, and whereas nobody wants to see games be cancelled, but I think whereas some people would love to have seen some of his games be cancelled. Yeah, I just think this will come out because I think he just will push for it. And it does seem to be, he gets indulged, I think, in what he wants. So I think if it's him that's pushing this, then I think it'll come out. Might not be for another couple of years, but I think, we'll see it because of that reason.
Fair 19ugh. They're the three, I think. I mean, I don't know if you've got any, Dan, but I think these three are at risk.
No, like you said, I think 1943, I think, Blade it's on that edge, isn't it? But it's interesting as well, isn't it? Two Marvel IPs and a Star Wars, which you think should be untouchable, right?
Should be, but thanks, Disney. Okay, that is all we have today, people. Thank you very much for staying with us. Look, if there's any of your own lost game heartbreaks or anything cancelled or delayed that you still think about or still think might be coming out, then obviously feel free to comment and have a chat with us and discussion on it. You can do so obviously in the comments below on YouTube. You can join our Discord discussion thread. The link is in the below.
Just going to keep saying it. Discord.
Dan's going to keep saying Discord.
We've got
the
Discord,
link is
everyone.
below. As are all our socials. If you do like what Dan and I are doing, please do, particularly on YouTube, like and subscribe. Everywhere else, just click the follow button, do the thing that you guys do. It's very much appreciated. Mr. P, anything else from your good self?
Just thank you for taking us down the history of cancelled games. There's some that hurt. But no, thank you for that. And just join Discord.
You're welcome, my friend. Just join Discord.
Let's not cancel Discord.
Don't forget to join us weeklies on a Monday for Gaming Views Pulse. All the latest news, views. Tuesdays. Thanks, Dan. Don't forget to join us on Tuesdays for Gaming Views Pulse. All the latest news, views, roundup of stuff and comment corner. And then again on Fridays for our weekly topic download like this one today. That's it from us. Thank you very much. We'll see you again on Tuesday.